Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is part three, and one of the questions I get a lot is, and this is from Green Trail 4052. It says, what kind of camera do you use, and how do you upload video while you're on the trail? Well, last year I had my iPhone 6 with me, and I had a Sony Action Cam. In the Action Cam, I had a backpack mount, so it would sit right here up on my shoulder strap. But the noise between it would pick up all the pack squeak, 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 you know, and it was irritating. And I used it some of the times when I got up and had the pretty vistas, you know, up on the fire towers and things like that. Kind of didn't use it as much the more I hiked. And I took it out with me this year. Didn't even use it. I don't, and my thought was, well, I'll use it when I get up in the whites, but you know what, I don't think I'm going to take it. I do all my filming with my iPhone 6. Now I set my camera, I have this stabilization mode on, and I film in 1080i. So that gives me the highest quality. Now to try and upload that, that file is massive, and it's too hard to do. So I use YouTube Capture. YouTube Capture lets me upload a video to YouTube, and I can select the quality, okay, all the way down to low quality, all the way up to 1080i. And I had done some, I think at 480, and I had a lot of complaints that the quality of the film wasn't very good. So I started uploading in 720, which is considered HD. And basically that solved that problem, and people seem to like the quality of the videos. Now YouTube Capture will let me take different video clips and add them together, put a title to the video, and sometimes the description, although the app has been crashing when I've tried to put the description in. So I end up uploading the video, and then once it gets uploaded, I just use my browser, go on the internet, and I go in, and then I can do the edit feature where I can, you know, I've got 3 choices of the thumbnail. I can put the description in, monetize it, and what you really can't do with YouTube Capture is what you see like with Spielberg and guys, where you can throw in some photographs. Okay, I think I can put some music in. I haven't tried to do that yet with YouTube Capture, but I haven't been able to find how I can add like photographs in. So you're getting the raw videos. Okay, if I make such a bad mistake that it's like, instead of cutting that piece out, I literally just delete the video, start again. So what you see from me on the trail is it's just kind of raw. I'm taking my videos and just, you know, putting them together for that day, because usually I'll start with a, hey, good morning everybody, this, you know, this is where I am and this is the plan for today, and then I link those videos in through the day, and I usually try and end up with some sort of recap at the end of the day and go, well, this is how it went and this is where I am. And remember that my initial motivation for doing the videos was for my friends and family to kind of follow me along the trail. I had no idea that I would get a following on YouTube like I have, and I appreciate that. I've got great subscribers. I really haven't. There's no trolls. Nobody trolls me, which I really appreciate, and you all are very supportive. So iPhone 6, filming in 1080i, uploading at 720p, and with YouTube Capture, and that allows me to keep it simple and keep it relevant, hopefully, and keep it somewhat short and get it uploaded quickly, so you don't have to wait for 2 weeks to see what Big Bird is doing. So it's not as pretty. It doesn't have nice title pages and stuff like that, so sorry. But that's what I'm using for right now. Okay, Bearbug 5. I think last year you began with a hammock, if I'm thinking about the correct hiker, and then switched to a tent. Red Mage was using a tent, but I believe he was sleeping poorly and is now using a hammock. I haven't watched all of his vlogs, so I don't know if he has commented on how well he likes hammocking. My question, did you sleep well in your tent, and would you consider a hammock when you return to the trail? Well, let's talk about a sleep system. So, you know, a hammock is, you know, the hammock, and whether or not you can sleep with that one on a diagonal, whether you have an integrated bug screen, you have to have some sort of a tarp over it, and you have to have some sort of an under insulation system, okay? Whether an under quilt or some sort of a pad, because even in the summer, it can still get really cold in a hammock with when the wind blows underneath it. You get that huge cooling effect that happens. I went from I was sold on hammock camping. I had a really nice under quilt, had a nice top quilt, had a nice hammock system. I thought it was light enough. I paid the extra money, went super light, had an integrated bug screen, which you really didn't need in the wintertime. I noticed a lot of people that end up staying with a hammock, it seems like, and even Red Mage is there, I believe, where you're just using like a Grand Trunk, no integrated bug screen, and I don't see him using an underquilt. I've seen in some of his videos other guys that he's with are still using an underquilt. Last year, I got my hammock system back, minus the underquilt, for the Shenandoahs, which was in June, and I froze. I was struggling with the cold, even in June and towards July, not having underquilt. So for me, it came into a problem of my 65-liter Osprey pack was cubed out. And what that means is there wasn't enough room in there for basically 2 sleeping bags, because you had your overquilt and your underquilt, okay, and the hammock, which was smaller than a tent. But then my tarp, which was a really nice tarp, and it had the storm doors, and it was a real lightweight seal nylon, but it was big enough that it had some weight to it. So by the time you added all of that up, I was in the 4.5-pound range, okay, for my hammock sleep system, which was the hammock, the tarp, and that underquilt, because the other top quilt I still needed to have, okay. So when I got to Mountain Crossings, I was in a crisis, because the 45-pound pack that I had, and I hurt my knees coming down Blood Mountain. It was not going to work. I knew it wasn't going to work. I had to do something. I went to Mountain Crossings, very open-minded. What am I going to do? And when I started having the talk with the guy, and we started adding up the weights on my hammock sleep system, it became apparent that I could save a couple pounds by going to a Big Agnes. So that's what I did. Now, for me, I already had the Neo Air, because I figured I was going to have to go into shelters at some time. I have to sleep on my side, and I can't do the closed cell foam stuff anymore. Too big, too heavy, too old. Don't want to do it. The 12 ounces for that Neo Air is worth the weight to carry. So I still had that. So when I went to the tent, at first, it was always frustrating not being able to find a flat spot. Eventually, over time, I learned that flat spots are elusive. When you believe you have a flat spot, sometimes it's not really flat. And so then you end up with kind of sloped the wrong way, or your head's down a little bit more than you thought. So I actually now look for a spot that's just has a little bit of an upslope to it, and I'll purposely put it so my head's up, because then I know where up is. And oh, by the way, I won't roll side to side, and hopefully if it's not too much upslope, then it works. So I found a lot more places to camp. It takes longer to set up the hammock and to get it done correctly, and it takes longer to manage all the stuff, okay? Because right now I can put up my tent, and it's called exploding your pack. I can explode my pack. I know certain things go down this side of the tent, some things go down this side of the tent, and it's done. Just boom, 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 boom. And then you can do your dinner, you come back, blow up your mattress, and you're done. Everything goes in a certain spot. With a hammock, you know, there's some things that can go in the hammock. You know, you kind of throw stuff in. And oh, by the way, anything that goes in the hammock falls out of the hammock. Okay, so you're constantly picking stuff up off the ground, or you know, kind of like, you know, unzip the bug net, throw something in, zip it. You know, you're constantly going back doing that to keep stuff from falling out. And then on the ground, if you have a nice flat spot on the ground, that's great. But guess what? You just probably took somebody's camping spot. Okay, and so the tenters are going to get a little irritated if you use a hammock or over the nice camping spots. So you're probably going to be putting your hammock up where it's not quite so nice. It may be some boulders, some rocks. You got your gear, and you know, guess what? When it rains, your tarp will keep you dry, but the rain comes off the tarp, hits the ground, bounces up. So your gear underneath is going to get wet unless you do stuff with it. So you have to either, you know, hang your pack somewhere, maybe hang your stuff up on your suspension line. You've the piece of Tyvek. You've got to, you know, put stuff in it. A garbage bag. You have to police up your gear. If you don't, during a windstorm you'll lose your windscreen, like I did on night 3. Okay. And so there's a lot more stuff you have to do to secure your gear when you hammock. Okay, and if you are a stomach sleeper, forget about a hammock. If you're a side sleeper like I am, you have to spend the money to get the higher tech ones that allow you to sleep on a diagonal. If you're a back sleeper, then you might be able to handle it. I do probably sleep better in a hammock than I do on the ground in a tent. However, with the Neo Air and that air mattress, I got good night's rest. Okay, so for me, it was okay. I'm probably going to stick with a tent for long distance backpacking. Out with the scouts, 2 or 3 nights, I'm definitely taking my hammock. Okay, but just the overall, just day after day, set up, take down, 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 and managing all your gear, I think the tent worked well for me, and I'll probably stick with that for the long distance hiking. Okay, Stephen asks, let's see. He says, I'm a big guy with sleep apnea. I always felt like I never will sleep well on an air mattress. I've always felt like my snoring would upset others at camp. Do you use a pillow? Any experience with snoring yourself or others? I don't really snore normally. If I'm super exhausted, I might, but usually when I do, it wakes me up. I do use a pillow. I have that Aeros inflatable pillow. You know, I've tried sleeping on coats and clothes and stuffed sacks, and I don't like it. I mean, it's better than nothing. Excuse me. But man, I love that Aeros pillow. And one of my favorite pieces of gear. And depending upon how you feel, you can blow it up more. Actually, sometimes if I'm trying to read on my iPhone, I might have the pillow all the way up, and not time to go to sleep, I'll let some of the air out, so my head will change. Plus, depending upon the kind of slope you're at or on, and how much air you've had to put in the air mattress. Some people take their Neo Airs and fill them all the way up, and it's like a balloon that's going to explode. And because of my weight, I'm afraid if I do that, it's gonna blow up. So I usually will keep the air down, the amount of air down in it, because once you lay on it, it puffs up, and then I can kind of adjust it so when I'm laying on my side, I'm not touching the ground, but I'm not also like trying to balance on the top of a balloon either. Okay. And so the pillow with the air, you're able to kind of move it around and stuff. Now, if you are, yes, I had some experiences with some freight train sleepers. Okay, if you're a freight train snorer, be polite and stay away from the shelter. Don't sleep in the shelter. People understand you're going to be in the shelter area because a lot of times that's where the water is, and that's where the people congregate. But if you're a really, really bad snorer, then stay out of the shelter. Now, there's times you can't because of weather and stuff like that, and people understand that. Almost everybody on the trail has earplugs with them. If they're not, then it's their fault. So if you're a moderate snorer and it's bad rain and everybody goes to the shelter and you're a snorer and there's one person that complains in the morning because he didn't have earplugs but everybody else did and they're not complaining, that's not on you. That's on them, because everybody knows you know, you should take some earplugs with you. And trust me, it's not just for the snores. There's been some forest noise that's just unreal, whether that's, you know, frogs or crickets and whippoorwills. If you've never had a whippoorwill in your camp going on all night long, you need a pair of earplugs. Okay. Okay, let's see. Dan Austin say, let's see. Is there a possibility of going out and getting a few more miles this year? Yes. Late August, go out and head north again. All right. Once again, a question from Steve H. about beta blockers, and he gets into some specific doses of what he's on and back and forth. And for privacy, I won't really get into any of that. But basically, I think we talked about a little earlier about, you know, the cardiologist. You know, the first one didn't really tell me much, and I had to kind of figure it out for myself what my own personal limits were, and that something was going on that was keeping me from getting a pace higher than about, you know, 2 miles an hour in most circumstances, and had to do my own research, and then my second cardiologist confirmed that yeah, it's like a governor on your engine, and it's just going to be that way. I'm down on the lowest dose I can be on. I'm like 2.5 milligrams, you know, and I started out like 100. So anyway, if you did ask what I'm on Bastolic now. You might want to talk to your doctor about that, because the lower dose of any kind of chemical you're putting in your body, the better. So. All right, so Aiden Pitts, and shout out to Aiden. I knew him when he was 14 years old, and he was also my trail angel there in Fayetteville, Pennsylvania. Took me out to help me get some food, since he's living up there now. He says, since you've been hiking alone for some time now, I feel that this is an easy question. Does it ever get boring? If so, if you had to start all over again, would you prefer a hiking partner or just go at it yourself again? Part of me being out there is to kind of be alone. Most people that do hike with partners, they split up during the day and they hike their own experience, and then they kind of gather up at the end of the day at the campsites that they're going to, or for lunches or water sources. Even people that are married, a lot of times they'll come into camp and they'll be separated by 10 minutes because it allows you some time to think. The times I've been out with my friend Jesse, I've really enjoyed having his company there and to be able to talk with him. I think he would agree that if we were doing this, you know, for 2,000 miles, we'd probably drive each other crazy at some point in time. But it's good for short periods of time. So it can get boring. Yes, that's part of the mental problem with the trail. That's probably one of the things I was having a hard time with in Pennsylvania. I suffered through, you know, I tried to have a good attitude through Pennsylvania. Okay, beautiful rocks, but then when they continued to New Jersey, that got me mentally. Okay, and then you know, then continue to have damage starting to happen in New York, and some dangerous conditions that would maybe take me off the trail permanently, and decided to back off. You know, yeah, that was hard. But yeah, it can get boring. That's why it's good every now and then to take a zero, you know, to kind of get off and clear your head, and, you know, get a good meal, and that's why I think a lot of young people out of college, they end up in trail families, 6 to 8 people. They're kind of traveling together to help with that. They're not old enough yet to appreciate the solitude that boredom offers. All right, so they're more easily grouped into groups at this point in their life. Okay, Larry 3043 asks, can you give me a review of your pack? Just did it, Larry, and it's already posted to the channel. And right now I am working with Chris at ULA to get some different shoulder straps put on, and once those on, we'll kind of do an update to the pack and see how that works. So, all right, okay. Locke McKinnon asks, what brand of permethrin do you use, and what mixture, and how do you apply it? I just use the stuff that's already pre-mixed, that's in a spray, and you just soak down your clothes and let it dry. Okay. There is some stuff that you can put on a washing machine, but my washer here at home is an upright. It's a front loader, so you can't do it that way. If you're going to do the stuff where you put it in the water, you got to maybe go to a laundromat, which I'd tell you to do anyway, and use their machines and do it. But I use the spray. Okay, lamplighter. Knowing what you know now, if you were to start your hike all over again from Springer Mountain, and considering the weather, conditions in the Smokies, and the amount of hikers on the trail at any given time, what would be your most likely start date? And I think lamplighter, you're looking at next year, I think, aren't you? Or 19, one of the two. I honestly, unless I wanted to do, if I were starting all over again and kind of do that mid-start, there's something about hiking north and having Katahdin be the final hurrah. I would probably go ahead and start Novo again from the south. Most of the big hiker bubble starts in, I think, 1 April to 15 April. So I would still look at starting that 1 March, maybe even a little bit earlier. I much prefer hiking in the cold than the heat. As long as you can, if you can get through Damascus before that big April hiker bubble hits, it won't be a problem. There's going to be a lot of hikers that you'll be hiking, but the bubble won't be consuming resources and end up with 200 tents in a campsite type of a thing. So I'd start out mid-February to the first part of March, and with my goal of being through Damascus before the bubble gets there for trail days. And if you want to really go to trail days, then get a ride, get a shuttle back. But get past that horde of people, because there's also a lot of people that just go, they go 100 miles from Damascus and they hike in for trail days. So then you have the bubble, and then you have all these other hikers that are maybe former through hikers, and they're all out there trying to get back to Damascus for trail days, and I'd avoid that. And I think if you start in mid-April to first part of March, you should be able to be well beyond that bubble by the time it has its most serious impact. Okay, let's see. Okay, Loner, 2012 AT, and shout out to Loner. Hey, if you guys have not watched, he and FM Hikes, and I think Gator Miller, I kind of all watched those kind of at the same time. Now Gator Miller came after him, but Loner, he actually bounced a laptop so that he could post his YouTube videos. Okay, where now we have like capture and stuff like that. You don't have to do that. But if you haven't watched Loner 2012 AT, you need to go watch his through hike. I tell you what, the tenacity that he has when he went into a Dollar General and bought a pair of what $15 tennis shoes, because his other ones were shot that he could have to hike in until he could get to a place that he could buy some. I don't know what did you walk, Loner? Did you walk like 100 miles or so on those really cheap tennis shoes? I can't remember, but it's like this guy's going to complete the trail. Anybody that has the guts to go out and put a cheap pair of tennis shoes on at that part of the trail and hike on it, you've got my vote, buddy. Anyway, he asks, did you find by any chance any Indian arrowheads or anything else unusual along the way? I didn't find any arrowheads. I did have a hiker show me one that he found down around Franklin, which I thought was pretty cool, and kind of envious of that. If you remember the Bly Gap tree, the one that's the famous tree that everybody photographs, and how it's bent down. It's bent down because the Indians would take a sapling and bend it over and then tie it to act as a blaze. And then of course over time, then it would, where it was tied, it would turn to get sunlight, and it would start growing up, so you get these trees that have this curve in them like that. And it was neat to find those, or remnants of them. A lot of them have already died, but you can still see the remnants on the trunks where I think it was, I thought that was pretty cool. And even in Pennsylvania, I came across one this couple months ago where you could see where it had been one of those saplings that had been turned down by the Indians to mark a trail. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, I think that's the end of the questions. If there's any more that come up, we can do another part to this. But anyway, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Bye. All right, little post log. I was not getting teary-eyed about doing a question answer session. I was holding back a sneeze that was going to be very ugly. But then I noticed that, you know, man, it looks like I was getting ready to cry. But I am so grateful for all the subscribers that I have. And I really appreciate all of you. Thank you. Bye.